Welcome to another episode of our So in this video, I'll be showing you how to do the taking off of substructure, starting with the first three items, which is the site clearance, topsoil excavation, and disposal of excavated material. But before then, we would have to study our construction drawing as the first approach to measurement. So keep watching and don't scroll. So this is our construction drawing, and then from what we are having here, we have our site plan here. So the length of our site plan is 30,000 millimeter. Then why the width is also 30,000 millimeter. And then what we are having here is our proposed building to be erected. And then with this site plan, we're able to know or to see the total size of our land. And then the dimensions are given in millimeter. So before you do anything, you would have to convert it to meter before you dive into measurement. And then likewise, we have our floor plan here. So our floor plan here is going to be used to take care of our topsoil excavation and our disposal of excavated material. Now looking at this is a 3-bedroom bungalow with an irregular shape. And then the dimension here is what? We have 15,225 millimeter. So the dimension is given in millimeter. Then why the width is 11,420 millimeter. And then looking at the method of dimension, the method of dimension here is out to out. If you look at this closely, it's actually starting from the outer part of this plan to the outer part of this side also. That is to tell you that the method of dimension here is out to out. And then also talking about the partition walls, the blocks that are used here are all 225 size of blocks. So there is no area where 150 mm blocks are being used. And then that is everything. Now from here, we would have to move into the taking off itself or the measurement. So after studying the drawing as the first approach to measurement, then the next thing now is we'll start with the first item like I mentioned earlier, site clearance. And then from our site plan, the first thing there is we have the length to be 30,000 millimeter, and then you have to convert it to meter. By doing so, you will have 30.00 meter. And then you have your width. Your width is also 30,000 millimeter. You divide it by 1,000. That will also give you 30.00 meter. Then now you do the booking. You have your what? 30.00 by 30.00. And then that's going to give you 900.00. Giving you what? Total of 900 square meter. It's very, very important while doing your measurement. Your unit of measurement is very, very important. So at this point now, we move towards topsoil excavation as the second item in substructure. So you have what? Topsoil excavation. And then we have a rough sketch of a foundation detail. Now, the first thing to do in topsoil excavation, you'll have to calculate what we call spread. What the space we're having here is spread. What we're also having here is also what? So this is the width of our foundation, reading 0.675. Then why the thickness of our block here, just like the way it is demonstrated here, is 0.225. And then when you talk about this spread can also refer to as working allowance or working space, just like the way it is practically shown on your screen. Both spaces you are seeing beside the block work is the spread we are talking about. Now, we want to know the value of those spread at the both ends. So now, for you to now do that, you have to calculate for your spread. And then let's bring out the formula here. We have spread is equal to FW minus BT divided by 2. The FW is your foundation width. Then the BT is your block thickness, just like the way it is illustrated here. And then you say your spread now is equal to the width of your foundation here is 0.675. That gives you 0.675 minus 0.225 as the thickness of your block. It is also illustrated here. Then you divide it by 2. That gives you your spread is equal to 0.45 divided by 2. By the time you do this subtraction, you'll be having to 0.45. Now you have your spread is equal to 0.225 meter. Now, this is to tell us that the value we are having here is 0.225 as our spread. And then also what we're having here is what? 0.225 as our spread. Now coming to the topsoil excavation itself now, you'd have to make it of the length and the width of your floor plan, mind you. Because when it comes to topsoil excavation, you'll be using your floor plan to cater for that. And then from our floor plan, just like we have mentioned earlier, we have your what? We have the length is 15,225. But converting into meter, that will give you 15.23. Take note. Then you want to add spread to the both sides. 2 by 0.225. That gives you 0.450. Now this spread now, you have to add it to the both side of the length of your floor plan. Then you also have to add the same spread to the both sides of the width of your floor plan. So the length of our plan is 15.23. Now we said add spread 2 by 0.225. So you have 0.225 here, you have 0.225 here. So that's the essence of these two. And then when you sum it all together, you have. Then we say what? Add spread 2 by 0.225. That will give you 0.45. So by the time you add it all together with this value, that gives you 15.680. Now we've gotten a new length. Now talking about the width now, because what we've actually done is the length. Now we also need to add it to the width. Now our width is what? 11.43. That's from the drawing. And then you also want to add spread to it. 2 by 0.225. That gives you 0.450. Now add spread 2 by 0.225. That is the value of our spread. The 0.25 is the value of our spread. So by 2, that's the both side of the width. Now that gives us what? 11.880. Now we've gotten a new width and also a new length. So now for us to book our topsoil excavation now, we'll have to get what? That's going to give us 15.68 by our width 11.88. Now when you multiply these two values together, you have what? 186.28. Now rounding it up together, that gives you 186 square meter. Always ensure to put your unit of measurement. It's very, very important as a quantity surveying student. And then we talk about what? Disposal of excavated material. That is the third item. Disposal of excavated material. And then this disposal of excavated material is measured in cubic meters. So we need our length, the width, and then the depth. So the length and width we are going to be using is what? Is that of topsoil excavation. So we have to repeat this length and this width. That gives us 15.68 by 11.88 by 0.15 as the thickness of what? Disposal of our topsoil excavation. Now multiply these three values together, that gives you what? 27.94. And then rounding it up, that gives you what? 28 cubic meter. So this is the first three items in substructure. And then in our next video, I'll be showing you how to do taking off of trench excavation using that same drawing. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow for more videos, comment, share, and like.